Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
What? When's the last time that we had a
you and me?
Biofriendly podcast that was just you and me shooting the breeze?
I want to
Talking it
say
out.
it was Murder Hornets.
Wow.
I think it was Murder Hornets.
That was a good episode, too.
It was a good episode.
That was a fun episode.
Yeah, but do you want to hold it, by the way? Do you want to hold
Yeah,
it?
I want to hold it.
Yeah.
We're recording now, right? On our podcast?
Are we?
I think so. Are we?
Oh, can we
Yeah.
start now?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we can.
From, I think, even back
Okay.
back earlier when
From
we were
when was the
talking
last
about-
time we
Yeah,
had
right?
just the two of us?
I don't know. I believe in you.
I
You figure,
believe-
this is like holding the earth.
I know, it's so huge, isn't it?
My God. Wow. Jacob, yours is really big.
It's the biggest iPad I've ever owned. So, no.
Those of you who are only listening
So maybe we
and
start.
not watching,
maybe
no, we got to start there.
Oh, all right.
No,
all right.
right?
Yeah, no, we're fine.
Because I think it'll go over the heads
It'll
of,
go over
of
the
our,
heads.
most of
You're
our
right.
audience.
That is my
Of the
new
percentage of audience who are worried about.
12.9.
12.9 inches?
iPad. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Jesus.
So I got that because I had.
It's like holding a
I know,
whiteboard.
I know it really is. Open up the camera. That's the thing that really kind of you go like, holy.
Oh,
right?
wow. I can see more with this than I can with my eyes.
I know. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Oh
it's
my
like a.
gosh.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Golly.
So
This is terrific.
it's terrific. It's a lot of fun. The reason why I got this thing was during quarantine.
Yes.
Dads have iPads sometimes.
We do.
But what happens is when you are in quarantine, here,
Make
you
it-
can pass
make
it
it-
over
make it
this way.
stop.
Make it stop. Turn it off. When we're on quarantine. Our children, they take your iPad, and within a matter of minutes, it's no longer your iPad.
Yeah, no.
You'll never see it again.
Well, it gets covered in like
food
food and grease.
There's like
how do their hands get so greasy?
I don't know. I'm not even kidding. My youngest, Elliot, he took over my iPad, and every time I would pick it up, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And then as each week passed on, more and more apps of like kids games were in there. The wallpaper was changed, and my wife just heard me grumbling around the house for like a month straight. Like, hey, could you grab Elliot's iPad? And I would be like,
not Elliot's iPad.
It used to be my iPad. It used to be mine once upon a time. So I just kind of got.
Can you grab Elliot's iPad? Jamie.
It's my iPad.
How could you do that? To
How
the poor
could you
man?
do that? Well, then she turned around after she said that a few times, and she said, "Just go get yourself an iPad." And I went, and I said, "Okay, I'm going big. I'm going big, baby." And so, but I'm excited because when I was a young lad, I used to draw a lot. Illustration was a big part of my life. I did a lot of cartoons and comics and stuff like that. And as an adult, it has drifted away from me a little bit. Okay. But I thought this is a good tool for me to embrace and do more drawing, do more artwork.
You know what we used to have on Biofriendly?
I know.
Was the Biofriendly weekly
Tuesday tip. I know. I need to bring it back.
And those disappeared. And I'm guessing this is Elliot's fault.
This is Elliot's fault. You can blame my son.
I think Elliot is responsible because he took your iPad away, and now you can't make your Tuesday tip draw. So for those of you who
the
have
Tuesday
been
tips are coming back,
struggling with the fact that there are no Tuesday tips,
they're coming back.
We can expect them.
They're coming back. Right. Yeah, and so the Tuesday tips fell away because once we were in the fall, we were moving, and remember we had we were like on our feet all day long, and even the podcast we had to take a couple weeks off during the time.
Yeah.
So then we get into the new year, and I'm like, all right, I need to bring my Tuesday tips back, and it wasn't long into the new year before I was like,
where's my iPad?
Where's my iPad?
Well,
that's it.
You could draw.
I could draw
all of existence.
I could
on
draw
the face of that iPad.
I could draw. I mean, this is going to. I will be the next Leonardo da Vinci.
You'll be the next Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio. I'll drown off the Titanic.
You will.
Hi guys. Yeah. Welcome to the Biofriendly podcast.
That was a terrific opening tangent.
That was a nice opening tangent. Wow. Yeah. It's the OG crew today.
Yeah, just the two of us.
Just
the two of us. We can make it if you try. We've been missing this. We've been missing this concept of just because it's great. We have so many people. Everybody wants to be on the show now, so it's great. I mean, it's fun to have all the guests and to have them come on. But every once in a while, we had to turn some down this week because we realized that the show in its origin was a kind of a show about a couple of buddies talking about the environment.
That's right.
And while it has evolved into something a little more.
It's grown.
I feel like every once in a while.
Every now and then you got to return your roots.
You got to come back to where
go back to where it all began.
So we're going to do this now and again, where we just come back and essentially spend half an hour fooling around.
Exactly. Not talking about much of anything. Yeah. No, today, actually, we are going to, not only is it the OG crew, but we're going to, as we mentioned this before, because we embrace the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals.
That stands for Original Girlfriends, right?
Yes.
You and I, when we were original girlfriends.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The Sustainable Development Goals cover a lot of topics, right? It's not just about the environment, and the Biofriendly podcast is larger than just the planet. It actually is about us as individuals, as people, as the human race.
Absolutely.
Right? We got to take care of people as well.
That's right.
So today, this was a topic. Usually I spring it on Noel. I go, this is what we're talking about, and he just has to kind of roll with it. But we were sitting down, and we were like, we should talk about this because it's an issue.
We had a long just chat about.
I want you to drop it. That's why
we were just sitting there in my office, and we were lamenting a little bit the current state of sociability thanks to social media.
Yes,
and it got us onto a tangent, and then we immediately were like, you know what?
We got to talk about this. Yeah.
Let's do this live.
Let's do it live. Because let's do it live. No, but the Sustainable Development Goal number 3 is actually, this thing's trying to read my face. Number 3 is good health and well-being. That's number 3 on the SDG list. And this counts. This counts. Yeah. Good health and well-being.
Absolutely.
Because if you've been on social media recently,
there's not a lot of good health or well-being.
There's not a lot of good health and well-being. And that's what our discussion was about and what we wanted to talk to you about today. We actually do have some data and some facts about...
Wait, we researched?
We researched. I researched. I did.
That's our first mistake.
I know. Yeah. No, but I don't know how to open it up. How do we broach the subject? You know that kind of currently, if you go on Facebook, if you go on Instagram, if you go on Twitter, everything is hypercharged, and there's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of piling on, and it seems to have gotten a little bit out of control.
Well, so let's not. We're not a political show, and for anyone who listens to the show, you will. Probably everybody hates us because because we don't.
No, they don't.
We don't toe either side, right?
Yeah.
So we're constantly probably frustrating Republicans and Democrats by saying something that then they'll be like, "That's not the message."
Right.
Face, pen, and that's just because we try our best to call it as we're seeing it from our perspective, and to try to give the data that we have in our perspective on it, which isn't always. I mean, we're purposely trying not to be. We try to shut that out and be non-political, and I think that we're both pretty much centrists.
Yeah, we're balanced.
Politically,
we're a good balance, you and I.
Yeah, we kind of vote for whatever. It's it isn't necessarily a party. It's for whoever speaks to you, right?
Right.
So we really don't want to bring that into the show.
Right.
But it is hard. With all that being said, it's hard to not acknowledge that there is an election going on,
and that there's tension,
and that there's the larger disagreement than there has been in a very long time.
Very long time. At an unhealthy level. And
that's saying something, because the last election had
a lot of
largest disagreement in a long time, and this is even amazingly more, even greater.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, it has been for a while a steady burn, and I wouldn't say a slow burn because it was pretty hot, but it was a steady burn, and this, with everything that has happened in this year that did we decide we're scratching 2020?
Yeah, 2020 is a wash. We're just letting this, we're just washing our hands and just going, okay, there's nothing we can do. I saw an article the other day that said something about the bubonic plague. So I don't know.
Really?
Yes. It said they found a squirrel they found a squirrel. But to our point of the show, it was an article headline.
Yes.
And I did not read it.
You didn't read the article?
No, I just saw the article.
You know what?
But should
that be number one?
That's how we should open it up.
That's how we'll start it off. Okay.
So first and foremost, on that very point right there, how many times have you been on your social media and you see an article headline and you click thumbs up or love or, your angry face, whatever your reaction to the headline. I'm sure for our listeners, that's happened often. For me, it's happened often. I did it on the bubonic plague in the squirrel article. I just saw it and I was like, wow, but I didn't read it.
Right.
Well, guess what?
What?
59% of all articles shared are never read. 59%.
Never read.
So much so they even did a complete fake out. NPR did a fake out where they were trying to test. Where's that? So I have 2 articles about it. It's pretty hilarious. Doggone it. Where's the NPR one?
While you search for it, I'll say how many times for you in the audience, how many times have you put up a post and then you'll see the comments of the post below, and then one person will say something and then someone else will comment back and be like, that's not in the article. That has nothing to do with this.
Exactly.
And then they go, did you read the article? And then this is 40% of them did not.
Yeah. So more than half.
Yeah.
So in April of 2014, NPR pulled a prank on its audience. It published an article titled, "Why Doesn't America Read Anymore?" which wasn't really an article at all.
Okay.
Instead, when you clicked this article, you were met with instructions to like the post only and not comment on it. The implication was that anyone who commented on the article certainly didn't actually read it, resulting in more than one layer of irony as social users fervently commented their outrage at the idea that people were non-readers. So this is the point, and there's multiple people who have done this experiment.
That word "fervent" is key right now in our future discussions for social media. But carry on.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then they did it again. There was another publication that decided, we're going to do this. Okay, here it is. On June 4th, the satirical news site The Science Post published a block of lorem ipsum. If you don't know what lorem ipsum is, it's when you open a document and it's just gibberish. It's to show you the formatting of your text.
It's like your template writing, this is how it's going to look.
Yeah, it looks like it's Latin, but I think it's nothing. It's just gibberish. Unless
I think it is Latin.
Oh, is it Latin? Yeah. Lorem ipsum.
Yeah, it's a Latin mono like
it's probably a spell.
Speech. Yeah, it's a spell.
We're probably cursing each other with lorem ipsum. It's a Harry Potter lorem ipsum wingardium leviosa. But they published an article that
we all remember the Harry Potter wizards from Latin times,
of course,
from when Rome ruled the earth.
We all remember those wizards. Lorem ipsum text under a frightening headline. The headline was "Study." 70% of Facebook users only read the headline of science stories before commenting. Nearly 46,000 people shared the post, some of them quite earnestly. An inadvertent example, perhaps, of life imitating comedy. So
that is
again. So this wasn't just a one-time test. It's happened multiple times, and it's always about 60% of people are just commenting and reacting emotionally to a headline.
Right.
And as we all know, a headline can be misleading. It can be. How many times?
I'll give a terrific example.
Give me one.
I was reading an article. This was like a month ago. So this is when there was first this kind of new peak was starting to slowly rise up.
Right.
And in Riverside, there was a hospital in the area that was at 100% capacity.
Yeah.
And the headline said something to the effect of Riverside hospitals overflowing.
Yeah.
Right. So you read through the article. In the beginning, it talks about the fact that this hospital in Riverside was at 100% capacity, and that it was overflowing, and that they were having to put up their emergency beds to cover the overflow, and that they had another 50% capacity they could add to that with their overflow beds that they were still using.
Right.
And then it goes through going through the surprise of this, the tragedy, and all the problems and everything that go on with that. And then at the end of the article, it does a quote from someone at the hospital saying, "Well, every year at about this time of year, we have between 95 and close to 100% capacity on our hospital beds because that's there's." So at this time of year in Riverside, for whatever reason, they have more accidents.
Normally like this.
It's like that, and then that's why they have this built-in overflow system that they are now using, and that COVID patients represented about 20% of the people in the hospital. So in the article itself, they nullified their own headline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the purpose of the article wasn't to wasn't to give you necessarily the facts. The purpose of the article was, I think, at the time, to probably scare people into staying home and being more careful with their and to wear masks and to be more careful.
To give them a feeling of like, oh no,
right?
Because there are people that their entire job is to test the reaction of a headline to get you interested, to market it towards you, and unfortunately, as we know, and you probably know as well, the news media that is out there now, it is rare to find any source that isn't tilted to one side or the other or has a message that they want to get across specifically. They're not sharing something just because they want to help you. It's because they want their interests met, and then this other side wants their interests met. And that's why we're getting these diametrically opposed articles.
And even if like I would suppose if I was to be a positive person, I think on the bright side, even if your overall goal on that particular article is we know that and by the way, I'm just gonna throw this out there, just as a total tangent within a tangent within a tangent.
Okay.
Masks. I'd like to reiterate again.
Which we both have right here.
Yeah. It looks
like I have an ascot on. But
me too.
Yeah.
I'd like to reiterate again for our audience that if you are nervous about, or if you feel like you're losing your freedoms or your personal right to do whatever the hell you want in America, which you know what, we're Americans, I get it.
Yeah.
We're rebels. We can't. Everybody who came here took a risk to get here, or someone before you did.
Yeah.
That's what America's about. I totally get the spirit. I get what you're saying, and I completely understand that. So this is just to reiterate that the mask doesn't protect you as much. Okay. Yeah. That's not what it's for. It's so that when you sneeze or cough or yell or talk or whatever, there's not time for that to atomize before it gets past your mask.
Exactly.
So that protects others.
It's a courtesy to others.
You're being nice to other people, and you're helping to slow the spread by not accidentally spreading something that you might have that you don't know you have. Okay, so don't wear it because don't wear it because someone's forcing you to wear it. Wear it because you're being nice.
You're being courteous.
It's reiteration of that point. Yeah. So I'm not against that, and I think that if I'm to look positively at this article, I would say that probably the fact that they did report the true data in the end and say this is normal.
Right.
Which now, by the way, I mean, look, it's blown up everywhere, and I'm sure that at Riverside they probably are having a hard time at capacity. I don't know. But at the time, it wasn't there yet. But to make that article at that time, and then to come back and to tell the truth at the end of the article, or to give all the data so you understand, probably means that they knew exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it. And if I'm to be a positive thinker, I would say, okay, so they're trying to do this in order to get people who only read headlines to be like, hey, this might be more serious than we think. This spike might be more than we think, and let's be more careful on each other. And so, I guess to be, because I'm not generally, I'm a pretty cynical person, particularly with the media right now, just because they do seem very, very biased. To one side or the other.
Yes.
And that's not again, I'm not blaming one political party or the other. You see it from both sides. Yeah. This kind of bias.
Yeah.
But as a positive thinker, I could think that, well, the person who's doing that, maybe in many of these cases, there is like there's an honest kernel of I'm trying to do the right thing underneath it, I guess.
Yes.
And this is me trying to not be cynical.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I think that a lot of these articles, it's not nefarious purposes. They're trying to encourage a certain message.
At least not always.
Not always. Not always.
Yeah.
It can, and especially in health crisis, we maybe need to do something to strike urgency. And also, we know as environmentalists, when you're talking about climate change and the planet, sometimes these articles are using headlines and scare tactics because they want to strike fear and urgency in your heart. We know that all too well. But the truth is the data is enough. The facts are enough.
The facts are enough.
But they're finding that, as this survey has seen, that if you've got 60% aren't even reading the article, they're going, okay, we have 2.5 seconds to alert this person of the issue. So we're going to go all in on the headline. All in. Right. Because we need to somehow get people to know. So this is where this is getting a little convoluted. At the same time, we have services like The Onion and other,
which is a
hilarious website
magazine.
And if you are a listener and you got to keep an eye, and if you don't know this, Onion articles are satire. They're humor. They're jokes. They put things in there like the Vatican is going to have a La Salsa installed, or like Chipotle signs a partnership with the Vatican. Right. I mean, things like, even further than that. But the problem is people are just reading the headlines. They're looking on Twitter, and you have reactions that go, "This is unbelievable. I can't believe that the Pope would sanction this." I mean, it's a joke. It's a humorous thing, but people are just seeing the headline and reacting and not reading.
So if you are on social media, and you're seeing a headline that's just outrageous,
right?
And that gets you so incensed or so worried or so like even this Riverside one would get a person very incensed and very worried. Like and your instinct is I need to share this.
I need to share this.
The world
Everybody
needs
has
to know. Okay,
Yeah.
Rule number 1 on sustainability for social media.
Yes.
RTFA. Read the flipping article.
Read the flipping article.
Read it from beginning to end.
Know what you're sharing. Share. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. I know that's a little critical of you, but if you have enough passion to share something that you believe in, read it. Read it. And we know 60% are not.
I know that I have done it for like sports articles and stuff when I just want to say the Clippers are the best.
Sure.
That I've done it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure everybody in the audience probably has some moment to be like, "Oh yeah, I've done that."
I've done it.
It's natural. I've done it. Like you see an article, this is great up there.
Yeah.
I'm the best.
Yes.
Right, but right now in particular, because there's an election, because we've had COVID, because we have Black Lives Matter, because we have so much disagreement, we have so much. There's just the world is in a weird place at the moment, in particular now, but I think forever.
Yeah.
Read the flipping article.
You got to fact check.
You got to fact check sharing
because the internet is. I know you know this, but it's a good reminder, especially for our young audience. People can write whatever they want. They can write whatever they want. They can take a photo and they can say, "This is this person." And it doesn't have to be that person. They can just make it up. But the problem is somebody will share it, it'll go on, and then you'll go, "I can't believe that person did that." And that person is like, I wasn't even involved.
Right.
So it's just such a dangerous thing. And I think that all of us, for social media sustainability, need to read the article. That's point 1.
That's point 1.
But
and then that travels down throughout the rest of the comments, as we were kind of alluding to earlier.
Yes.
So if you now have read something or you see a headline that a friend of yours posted, and it's wow. I mean, it's
controversial.
It's sparking you.
Yeah.
Read the flipping article.
Right. You have to
know what they're saying, know what it's all about, right? And then be informed. It does 2 things. 1, it gets you more informed on what the context is of what's being talked about or what's being discussed. And 2, it gives you time to chill out for a second as you read through the data.
Yeah.
And get your information before you go and you blast a comment.
Yeah. Yeah. And check I've been doing too is I check the URL of the website. Like oftentimes I'll see an article and it'll be from a source that I don't recognize. It's not the Washington Post or the New York Times or LA Times or CNN or Fox News. It's not a actual well-known media source. Right. It's just a blog. It's just a person's opinion. It's the Nantucket Observer.
Right.
You're just kind of going, I don't know how much research went into this or if this is really charged with somebody's personal vendetta or experience.
Right.
So it's good to know the source of your news.
Absolutely, because if you think about it, now some people will be like, well, yeah, but these are also biased, large.
They are.
So Fox News and the New York Times, and I get that, and I understand that, but you need to also know that Fox News, right? As an example, they certainly push a conservative agenda, right?
Yes.
So that's okay, fine. So that is what it is. However, because they are gigantic, even have limits to what they can do because they are big enough that they can be sued for libel and they have to actually pay money.
Right.
These small blogs, you sue them for libel, they just disappear. They don't. Nobody it's not gonna. you can't really sue them. There's not much that's going to happen because there isn't much of an impact. But if you are CNN, and CNN I think has more of a Democratic lean, right?
Yeah.
They might have something that drives you insane. You think, well, that's so liberally biased and those darn progressives or whatever. And okay, fine. That's your prerogative to think whatever you want. But even they have limits to what they can do because they can be sued for libel.
Right.
So there is free speech, and yes, there's a free press and there's free media. That's all 100% true.
Yeah.
But you can't go around lying about other people.
Right.
You can't defame them. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So the larger ones are generally, even if they are leaning, safer.
Right.
Even if it's Fox News, even if it's MSNBC, whatever. Like those are at least somebody in the room has done some fact checking of some kind to make sure there's at least some data backing up what they're saying.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So now, media aside, we're going to talk a little bit about the good health and well-being that is being lost from social media, and that is coming from the experience of isolation of being on social media, of being a lonely individual and no longer looking at the other as people, changing who they are. And you gave me an example of this, and I took that and I ran with it. So I wanted you to share that example of
driving?
Driving. Yes. That was your good example.
So, all right. So this is kind of a broader understanding of why people are the way they are in social media. So studies have been done. They've been conducted and by I remember, as you all know from this podcast, I always remember all my sources immediately off the top of my head and can quote them to you at any moment. There is one, and if I have, Jacob may have already found it, but not, I will find it for you. But basically, the issue with when a person is in a car and they're driving is being in that car makes them feel isolated. And it makes them feel like they're not really out in public because they're in their safe little bubble of their car.
Right.
What's more than that, when they look around the freeway or the highway or the intersection or wherever they are, they're not seeing other people. They're seeing drivers in other cars.
Right.
So they're looking at cars, and then the person in the car is then somewhat separated from them mentally, so that they don't think that that's really a person anymore. I mean, it's a person, but you lose a bit of what that is. And then that leads to road rage. Right. We've all experienced this, where you're on the freeway, you make a mistake, you cut somebody off, or you do whatever. You do something you shouldn't have done, and then, if you forget to wave, or you're slow, or you're just having a bad day, that person then goes by, and then they honk at you, and then they do something, and then you flick them off, and they flick you off, and then now you're screaming at each other in the highway, and then off you go, and you're mad now for like 10 minutes as you're driving down the highway, because that person's such a jerk.
Yeah.
And how could that person be such a jerk?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a problem that is pretty bad and annoys people. And we talk about road rage sometimes in life, I think. You talk with your friends, right? Now, imagine the difference. On the road, every single person, pretty much, not every person, but basically every person you're driving by, you don't know. You don't know those people. You have no idea who they are. You flick that person off, they flick you off, you scream something at them, you shoot each other. Well, okay, let's not go that far. But you'll never see them again. Right. You will never see them again. You're gone. It's over. You're mad for a few minutes. They're mad for a few minutes. You go home. Maybe you tell your husband or wife that you're just like, oh, that person just drove me crazy. Yeah. And then eventually it's over, and you don't remember it happening a day later. Or it's gone. It's gone. Social media is the same.
Yeah.
Except the separation device is not a car. It's a computer. You are not sitting there in front of the person. You are sitting in front of a computer.
Right.
Making comments, going out to someone else who is sitting in front of a computer. You don't see that other person. You see a commenter. You see a computer screen. Yeah. That person doesn't see you. They see a comment. They see a computer screen. The same thing is happening. It's just now that it's happening, it's not happening in a car, it's happening on social media. Yeah. Now, here's the problem. In the case of most of us, now this isn't everybody, but most of us, our social media following is our friends and our family, people we know, people we, at some point in our lives, cared for to some degree, or at least knew. Right. When you get into that road rage fist fight with a person on social media, you're not getting into a road rage fist fight with somebody who you don't know, who you'll never see again, that will allow you the possibility of forgetting it a day later. Yeah. You're doing that with potentially your cousin. Yeah. With your best friend from high school. Yeah. With your wife's best friend from high school.
Yeah.
With somebody you know.
Right.
So think about that. Like you being in a car, seeing a person that you know, flicking them off, calling them an a-hole, having that whole thing, and then imagine what that then is going to do to your relationship and what that person thinks of you and what you think about that person, even though you know better.
Right. Right. So that example, when he said that to me, I was like, so that opened up the parallel between road rage and what we're experiencing online right now. And so AAA did a study, 80% of drivers experience road rage, 80%. So almost everybody who drives experiences road rage. And there was
at some point.
Yeah. And this is from WebMD. So this is just a medical website. It says Dr. Barry Markell, PhD, he said, people in a grocery store line can also get stressed and annoyed. But in a grocery store line, everyone involved is a person. The woman with the screaming kids is clearly a mother. The woman fumbling with the credit card machine is someone's grandmother. Road ragers don't see the offender as a person. They thingify the person.
There it is.
That's it. They thingify it. And what we're doing online is thingifying people that we know. And to Noel's point, it goes in a really strange two different directions because you have most of us on social media just have their friends and family, people that they know. And so to his point, you're flipping out and you're ruining relationships. But then you have a whole generation of younger people, and I'm talking to the kids that listen to our audience, the teenagers, the 20-somethings that have grown up, and you started out your Twitter account with your 20 buddies, and then it grew to 50, and then it grew to 100, and then all of a sudden you have 5,000 people that follow you on Twitter. There has also been a complete flip with, I think that all those 5,000 people are my friends. Right. And anything that I say, they know me. They'll trust my opinion. They know that I'm not crazy, but that's not true. That's not true at all. You've grown and you've said a few funny things and caught some attention, but those 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, millions, however large it gets, are not your friends. They're just people that found something that you said was interesting or funny or captivated them. And so that opens...
They're following you for more of that.
They're following you for more of that. So think about this, and this is something that Noel and I talked about also, is you're sitting around with people that you grew up with, or your closest college buddies, or colleagues, coworkers, people that you've really formed a relationship with. And have you ever said something stupid?
Oh. I'm saying that I'm stupid right now.
Right? I mean, that's my middle name. Saying something stupid. I think that as human beings, the human mind is literally churning out so much stuff all the time, and you only gain kind of a filter as you grow up in social circles.
And make mistakes.
And learn. You say something and somebody goes, I think that the opinion's not quite right. But these are people...
Or you watch someone else make a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. You learn this behavior of controlling these thoughts and ideas because I know, like most of you, you have things that pop in your head for a second. We don't say them. We don't say them all the time. They just pop in your head. It's a random thought. It's a random idea, and you move on, right?
And this doesn't have to be like a something that's offensive or that's
no.
Like you can have a random thought in your head that's just dumb.
Dumb.
You know,
absolutely.
You know, like I wonder how many, you know, some dumb thing about computers. I don't know,
something that just doesn't make any sense.
So how do those wires talk to each other? I don't know. Something that's just like some random thought that goes in your head that doesn't. Well, I mean, it's stupid, but at the moment when you were just processing through a billion things in your because these minds are fast, right?
Yeah.
Like you might spurt out something that's just like, hey, you know, what if blah 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 blah, and then you're like, well, okay, no, that was dumb.
I'll give you an example. Okay. And this is my brother. I'm going to use him.
Your poor brother.
My poor brother. But my brother is a very smart guy. He's very intelligent. But when it comes to technology, he's gotten better in his older years. But in his 20s and 30s, it was hilarious because I've always been very computer savvy and tech savvy, and he is not at all. Yeah. So he got gifted a camcorder one Christmas, and he was like, wow, this is great. How do we get the images in it? And he he didn't understand the concept of like a mini DV tape or like media that he didn't understand it. And he said it out loud and we all razzed him for it. And then it took him a minute and he put it all together and he got it. And we gave him a hard time, but he's my brother. I love him. He said it. We laughed. We still refer back to it.
You're not going to hold that against him for the rest of it. I mean, except as a good razz.
Yeah.
But like your opinion, you're not going to suddenly think that your brother isn't
an idiot.
An incredibly intelligent, thoughtful person.
Right.
Because he didn't know how to camcorder work.
Yeah, and it was, it's like, it's one of those things that came out of his mouth, and that happens with your friends, your family, your loved ones. People say things, and you go, and then they self-correct, and they go, oh, you know what, I don't know what I meant by that. Sorry, that was word soup.
Right.
So, but we have the challenge now of people have Twitter accounts, and they, or whatever, Snapchat, whatever, anything, Facebook, anything. And you have this whiteboard that the world can see, but the only problem is, even if you wipe it off, it's already out there. People can screen grab it, they can keep it, they can download it, they can record it. And there are tons of people that just say a thought, and they tweet it out, they post it, and they maybe didn't think it through. But the problem is they thought that everybody who was on their page were friends that knew them, that know their heart, and know where they're coming from. But instead, you get a situation where somebody says something, and then everybody piles on and attacks that person, and they don't ever get a chance to just say, that's not what I meant. I was trying to understand. I was trying to And so this is where this unhealthy behavior is going in an opposite direction with strangers attacking individuals for having an idea or a thought. So
I think we got a couple more rules we can get out of this one.
Yeah. So
let's say
the flippant article.
Let's say rule number 2 is before you comment on something that enrages you.
Yeah.
Look at some of the pictures of the person you're because if it's somebody you know in particular.
Yeah.
Look at some of those family photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at some of those. Look at here I am with my son at the beach in the water. Look at some of humanize that person for a minute.
Yeah.
So that you take a moment to talk to them the way you would if you were in front of them.
Right.
And not behind a screen. Because here's another, and I'm not going to go into names or reveal any names, but I'll say there's two people who I know very well. They're brothers. Right. They are politically opposite.
They're on opposite sides.
But they are as close as any brothers you've ever seen.
That's
love
awesome.
each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like they just have so much love for each other.
Yeah.
Even with these two brothers, one brother posted an article, probably didn't RTFA enough. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
And had a point, just had a point that was a fair point and a good point. But in that article, there was a part of that absolutely could be construed as that's kind of racist.
Right.
Although the heart of the article was good, it was written by someone who was not totally on the up and up. So the other brother on social media blasted on social media, like tore to shreds and really upset that the first brother, because the first brother thought, well, this is supposed to be uniting, it's supposed to be helpful, and now you've made me look like an idiot. Right. Well, here's two people who would never do this to each other. Like they might have this conversation, but it would never be this bad normally.
Right.
But in this case, because it was through social media, it was.
Right.
So Brother A, who posted the article, sent a text to Brother B, and Brother B was like, "I'm sorry. You know what? You're right. I shouldn't have commented that way." But then explained, but here's what I saw, and here's what enraged me, and there's so much happening where this person lives that I don't, like, I can't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was so upset.
Yeah.
And so they actually had a chance to chat about it, and then Brother A looked through the article more closely and was like, "Oh my God," and felt bad and took it down.
Yeah.
Took it down, right? And it all worked out, and it was all okay, and they're still very close. They still love each other very much, and all is well. It's a happy story, right?
Right.
But it's an example of how even with people you know and people you love, you have example of Brother A didn't RTFA, didn't do number 1 properly.
Right.
And brother number 2, after RTFing the A.
Yeah.
Didn't humanize brother one at that moment, and then let it go. And it could have spiraled into trouble, but thankfully they're so close and love each other enough that they worked it out, and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
My point is, humanize the person before you comment on anything.
Yeah.
No, Matt, just
humanize them. Don't thingify them. Don't
thingify them because you can get your point across in a comment. If you feel strongly about something, that's okay. You're supposed to. That's what we are. That's what makes this country great is our passion. That's what's awesome about Americans. Okay, so don't lose your passion, but just humanize the person for a minute. Treat them like a person when you respond. Assume that maybe there's a mistake somewhere. Maybe there's a misunderstanding somewhere.
Yeah.
We need the benefit of the doubt right now more than ever.
Yes.
So in order to give that person that, humanize them first. You can't just comment like you're just commenting to some jerk who wrote a horrible thing on your timeline. Oh my God, this is on my timeline. How dare this be on my? This is offensive.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work. Not in a real world, because because even within the same party, you look at how much division there was in the Democratic primary.
Yeah.
Even
much division.
Even where people agree, you disagree.
Yeah.
If we don't humanize each other, we're going to run out of friends.
Yeah. So I'd say rule 2 is humanize, and rule 3 is know your friends and know who are friends and know who are strangers.
Yes.
Those are some rules. And then I have.
Yeah, because to finish off your last point on that, if you're around a campfire, with your 4 best friends, or with your family or whatever, you can really almost say anything you want
because those people love you,
and you'll get forgiven.
You could be at that campfire. Here's a great example. You could have the thought in your head and say, "This happened to a celebrity, and I don't remember who it was." But you could sit around with your best friends and you could say, "If everybody caught COVID, wouldn't that be better?" And then you'd have somebody around the campfire be like, "I know what you mean by that, because I know you and I know your heart and I love you. But actually, statistically, that's a dangerous thing because you could have a conversation and then you'd walk away and you'd be like, you're right. Yeah. That's an interesting perspective, but we don't want everybody to be exposed because it puts this at risk, this at risk, this at risk. Or if we did get everybody exposed, we'd need to have some sort of vaccine in place. I mean, there's just a conversation to be had there."
Yeah, totally. You could bring up the hospital bed problem. You could bring up their lack of respirators.
You could talk for 2 hours about it. But the problem is somebody famous posts a video and asks that question. And it was not out of a mean, vindictive thought. It's just out of I don't know how things work. I'm 19. Right. And then everybody goes, I can't believe you're a monster. You're a monster. And you go, you know what?
That person's not a monster.
Throws the first stone. It's
that's right.
It's just, we've all said and thought things that would be considered wrong, racist, insensitive. We've all had those thoughts and feelings. And so it's important to know who your friends and loved ones are that you can trust. So be careful with your words. Be careful. Hold them. Don't feel like every single thought that pops in your head needs to go on social media. Save that for people who know you.
Yeah.
Save that for people who know you.
Get outside.
Get 6 feet away. Have time and share your ideas at 6 feet away safely with your friends.
That's so true. I just said get outside in the middle of a pandemic.
But it's true. You can get outside safely. You can.
And people will be listening to this when the pandemic's over, and also so for them, at some point it will be much easier to do that. But you get in front of people again. Talk, the people who you actually hang out with, have those discussions. If you have something in your head that you think is this might backfire on me, but I feel like there might be something here. Well, that's not really something that you share. Don't share that on social media.
Don't share that on social media. Don't post your crazy thought that you just had. Hold on to it.
Talk to it with people who you know, who trust you, because then you can get some perspective on it, and you can get some thoughts. You can hear back what some people might say about that, and what reaction you might cause in others, right? Yeah. Because in the end, if you want to be happy in life, then you can't go around saying and doing things that other people can't really deal with, other people can't handle, right? And so, you just, it's a good idea to know who's in your who are those trusted people that you could say the stupidest thing you've ever said in the world to, and they're still going to love you tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one last rule, and I'm going to throw this one out there, and I want to see if you agree with it. One last rule before we wrap things up. It's know when to walk away.
Oh,
know when to walk away. Because I'll give you an example, and I'll make it quick because I know we're running a little long, but it's a good one. This is a good one.
Yeah.
I have somebody, and again, I won't name names. Not that close. Knew them in high school. They are posting things that I think are poorly informed, conspiracy, really wild leaps of logic. And a lot of times I see articles and links that have been disproven, that have been, this came out, and then you go, it's just a quick Snopes search away. You go, that's not true. That absolutely has been proven. The data is there that this is not real. This is not a real thing.
Right.
And I just walked away. There was a time where I would try to engage and try to teach, and I would try to inform that person that they were sharing misinformation. But I also started to realize that you're not going to win your argument to change somebody's perspective, especially online. You might have dinner with a friend that you care about, where you come to an agreement, or you come to a common ground and understanding, or agree to disagree, but walk away and love each other. But there are people that we know casually, acquaintances, people that we knew 20 years ago, that will say something that enrages you. So I think the best solution in those situations, walk away. You don't have to try to win.
Yeah, because you can't.
You can't.
There's so much of what makes us who we are is built at a time before we're able to filter or control the data we're getting.
Yeah.
And it is tough. It is tough when you get something that you believe to be true at the age of 5 or 6.
Yeah.
To wipe that away, right?
Yeah.
And if you have some data that supports that, it's only going to make you more certain that that thing you believe is true, even if that thing isn't entirely. And maybe it partly is true. But
some of it could be.
But if it's but if it isn't entirely true and it's just something that you somehow got at that time for whatever reason, it's probably not. It's hard for that to go away. That's one of the reasons that with the Biofriendly podcast we work in baby steps.
Yes.
Right?
With the planet, people sometimes aren't ready.
Right.
They're not ready.
You're not going to convince someone overnight to adopt a whole way of thinking,
right,
if they have no reference to know if what you think is even accurate, right? And that, by the way, that's possibly true too. Every one of us has things that we think, oh, this is definitely the truth. This has to be it. Every one of us, you at home right now, have something in your mind that you know is true, and other people don't get it.
Yeah.
And maybe some of it is.
Maybe some of it is.
Maybe some part of it is.
Maybe
but
some
maybe
of it
some of it isn't.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's really hard to let some of that go, particularly
really
when it's something that's foundational for you. Because when foundational things are proven to be wrong, it's just it feels disastrous for a minute. It's like, God, what am I? Who am I? What does this mean? What is it? Am
right?
I even my?
You unravel.
Is everything that I've done wrong? Is everything? And the answer to that is also no. Right? No, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's just that there's a little thing that's been perhaps not entirely what you thought.
Yeah.
So don't expect that your one comment on a social media post is going to turn around what could be 30, 40, 50, 60 years
of thinking,
of determined truth to someone.
Yeah.
So it just isn't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So walk away, because if this is a person you love and care about, then the only way to have a decent human conversation is in person and is coming from a loving, caring place, a nurturing place.
And a willingness to let some stuff go.
And willingness to let some stuff go. You have to. And I am not blameless in this. Many years ago, I would get in tiffs, I would get in fights, and I would get in comment threads. And that is the most unhealthy I ever felt in my mind. That was the most unhealthy I ever felt.
I mean, here's another rule. I'm at another rule.
Go for it, man.
At least once a year, take a week off.
Yeah.
Take a week off.
Detox.
Take, and I would do it even more than that. I think you want to do it like even even once a month.
And don't announce it either.
No,
don't announce it.
Don't make it a thing.
Don't make it a thing, because then you'll be sucked back in. If you make a post and you say like, I've got to take a break, you're going to get comments about that, and that just pulls you right back in. So you know what?
Just take a break, and you don't have to go forever. Think of it like a diet.
Take some time.
Like, no one's going to ever stop eating chocolate.
Right.
No,
never.
But you could take a break on chocolate for a week, right?
Yeah.
And then see, how does that feel for a week? Oh, okay. And it reminds you that you don't need chocolate.
Yeah.
You want it. You really enjoy it, but you don't need it, right? Social media, you don't need it. You will probably find, after you take that week off, that a lot of the stresses, a lot of the worries, a lot of the problems, I actually, in terms of most, I have a couple social media things I have to do just because of work, but for the most part, when the COVID thing started, I was seeing so many of these mistakes that we're talking about being made by people who I really love.
Yeah.
Like very love, like people I love, I'm very close with, who I know are hyper intelligent, incredibly thoughtful, incredibly smart, but it's just saying things again based on their own understanding of the way the world works.
Yeah.
And some of it is true, and some of it maybe isn't.
Right.
But you see that, and you see it, and when you see it from somebody who you really like, who you do love, you're like, it hurts a little bit. You look at it like, why would you are you? And I realized this isn't part of this is they're frustrated by something. Yeah. Something's happened and it's made this person frustrated, and they feel like they have to say something or do something. And this is a reaction of that. And it's part of that social media just virus.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, if I'm gonna get through this time of pandemic and everything else, and this election and everything else, I don't think I can be on social media. And I stopped. Yeah. And I have never, it took away so much stress, so much anxiety, so much frustration, so much anger. It just disappeared because it wasn't there anymore. Because now all those people who I loved and admired, I still could. Yeah. So take that week.
Yeah, take that week. That's the thing about anger. And this was a point in one of the articles I read about road rage, is that, I mean, you know, when you see, I don't know why this popped in my head, but like there's 200 mouse traps on the floor, all side by side. One snaps, and they all go, and it just goes everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. The state of anger is there's a lot of stuff that you have inside, whether it was a fight you had, a thing with your parents, a thing that happened at work. You have a lot of those mouse traps that are in there, and it doesn't take much to set one off and cause all of the others to go. All of them.
That's a great image.
And so they talk about in road rage that a lot of times the reaction that you're having seems so amplified because you got all these mouse traps, and all it took was that guy cutting you off to go pop, and it's like all that anger that you have is just coming out. It's just pouring out of you. Yeah. And the same thing is happening on social media. You aren't necessarily as angry at that one person or that one post. Something set it off. And now you are spitting venom and vitriol and just attacking. And that person doesn't deserve that from you.
Yeah.
Humanize.
And that also goes for, like we say when you're commenting, but also when you post. Yeah. Just like if you're gonna put something up there that you think might be inflammatory, I mean it's okay to couch it underneath there a little bit, to say something that sort of explains your perspective and say, look, I know this might set a few people off, and for that I apologize, but here's the part of the article that struck me, and I'm wondering if this is if this is worth conversing about.
Yeah.
Just humanize it, folks. Those are people on the other side. Those are real people. Those are not bots that you're talking to.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I think it was important that we covered this. That's the topic. It's sustainable social media, because we care about you. We care about people, and we care about each other, the human race. And we have to be able to get through this. And the only way is to stop this attack on everybody. You have to begin to listen, grow, learn, and know when to shut up.
Yeah, that's right. We really can't keep witch hunting each other and piling onto each other. We can't do it. It is not a sustainable way for us to live. It isn't. We'll eventually, our groups will get smaller and smaller and more varied and more angry, and we can't have that. We really do have to find a way to unite more. We have to find a way to talk. You have to find a way to get along with that person who is on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you. You have to find what is the thing we agree on. Do we both want a healthy family?
Yeah.
Probably. Right? Do we both want to live in safety? Probably. Yeah. Right? Do we both want health? I mean, it's like there's like find things to agree on. Find something to agree on. Do we both like the Lakers? Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. But you can be friends with somebody who is. But
you can be friends with someone like you can have that. You can have something, right? So like if there's somebody like generally again for most of us with social media, if that person is following you and you're following them, or your friends on Facebook or whatever, there's a reason. There's something in common. You went to the same high school. You grew up at the same time. You might like the same music.
Yeah.
You might like. There's something there. Focus on that. Yeah. All right. Because you can find something to agree on, and if you can find something to agree on, then you can build enough kindness with one another to maybe you're not going to break down the wall, but maybe etch away at something that isn't quite true that the other person is really leaning on.
Yeah.
And that's all you're ever going to do is just etch away. Yeah. And that's okay. Because if we do that with each other and we're willing to do that, then that is sustainable. Then we can go on as a society.
Yeah. So you guys who know us and have followed the show for a long time, you know that our hearts are about, we're not talking about people who are trying to take away rights or people who have these opinions that you go, wait a second, that's not fair. That's not just. That is against the law. That's not something that we're saying like you have to be okay with that. Of course, fight for what you believe in and what you care about and what you stand for. Stand up for yourself.
The heart of we mentioned this last week and we couldn't get into it too much because our guest had we had a guest, but the American spirit, that desire to be free, that desire for liberty, right? Mm-hmm. That's not. I think, and I can't say that I know, so I want to put that there before I say it. But I think from my observation that when someone gets too stuck on one political side or the other, I think they believe that the other side doesn't want the American thing.
Right.
They don't want. They don't like. They're not truly an American. They're not truly this. Not truly that. When those fireworks were going off everywhere in Los Angeles, mm-hmm. That was everybody.
It was everywhere.
That was
everywhere.
Everybody expressing freedom, expressing rebellion,
civil disobedience.
Right, but they weren't exactly. But it was civil. Yeah. We all came here, unless you are natives, and we will have a whole, I'm sure, and a thing on indigenous people at some point. Yeah. You came here from somewhere. You came here for somebody on your genetic line.
Immigrants.
All
of us.
Yeah, somebody on your genetic line came here for a better life.
All of us.
Came here to take a risk.
Yep.
Sailed across a sea. Came here with very little money on an airplane. Crossed a desert and whatever. We all came here because of that spirit, because mm-hmm. of that drive, because of that feeling that I can have more, I can do more, we can be better, I can have that opportunity. Yes. That's why we're all here. Yeah. That's something you can pretty safely, and I don't know if everyone understands this, because I think that there's a lie that's out there that says that we're not, that the other side aren't. That everybody, we're all in that together. The person who is on the street that you may have bumped into or whatever else, that person is here because somewhere in them there is that desire to do more, to be better, to have some greatness in their life.
Yes.
And that's a cool thing. And that's the American spirit. And we're for that. So if you think that there's something you have to do that helps with that, we are for it. And we're not saying stop that.
Yeah.
We're saying do that, but be thoughtful.
Yeah. Well said.
Thanks, pal.
Hey, this has been your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
We are. I'm going to do the other one.
Do the one
featuring parasympathetic nerve activity.
That's it. Featuring greater.
Greater. Yeah, I was wrong this time. Featuring greater parasympathetic nerve activity.
I've forgotten the other one now because I was always so stressed. Give me a second. I'll get it. Featuring greater parasympathetic nerve activity. And then, all right, I'm blanking, so I'm just going to go with
not just
charismatic megafauna.
Yes!
Not just charismatic megafauna.
Dolphins don't quit.
Nature's perfect. Look at eggs.
We are y'all inclusive.
Y'all inclusive.
Yeah. Did we add one?
We were kind of on the fence. There was something, I think we were kind of like flirting with an idea. If it didn't stick, it didn't stick.
Yeah. Right? Oh, there was something actually. There's something I wanted to say that was not related to this topic.
Go for it. It's a post-tag thought.
Post-tag thought?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So our chief scientist is an oncologist. He's done cancer study and biologist. He knows a lot about viruses, about
sure
all this kind of stuff. He's not an epidemiologist, so it's not everything, right? But he knows a lot about this. And he said something to me that really struck me, and I read more into it because it was so fascinating. And it was about the mutations of COVID. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of fear right now about, oh my God, COVID's mutating, and it's gonna kill us all. So what are we gonna do? Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing he said to me that was so fascinating is that the perfect virus, the perfect virus, is a cold. It's a cold. It's not Ebola. It's not like Ebola kills 6 out of every 10 people that it touches, right?
Right.
Ebola is not a perfect virus. Ebola burns itself out. Wow. Ebola is not the whole. If you look at evolution and you look at how things adapt and how things naturally select, right? The thing that you're trying to do is to make yourself better at surviving, essentially, right?
Sure,
I mean, sure. There's more to it
to
than
live
that.
on.
But yeah, to keep you and your progeny going, to keep living, right?
Right.
So, for instance, we as a species, right? They did this. There's this really fascinating clay bed, like fossilized footprints that they found in Australia. So, like native Aboriginals 20,000 years ago were hunting. We're hunting something.
Yeah.
And one of the footprint steps that was going, they measured the distance of how that was going and how far it was going and how far apart the footsteps were.
Yeah.
And they found out that particular Aboriginal human was running at about 22 miles per hour.
What?
Yeah. So, before now, we were fast. Yeah. We were strong like bears.
Yeah.
Like if you ran into a caveman now, he could tear your limbs off, beat the crap out of you, and then run with you over his shoulder and feed you
really
to his
fast.
family.
Yeah.
Because they were way stronger.
Right.
And they were and you would think now, why are we like this now? Right. Why are we so weak and so slow? And you go, well, that's a poor evolution. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But no, actually, what happened was over time. If you met that caveman today, he could rip you limb from limb, but he wouldn't because you could shoot him.
Ah.
And you could shoot him because you developed a brain.
Yeah.
So over time, what kept winning, what kept producing more children was the smarter human, because the smarter human could set traps. The smarter human could avoid being eaten. So intelligence became more important than speed or strength.
Right.
So we became intelligent. And we continue to become more intelligent, and that's how we're evolving, because that has proven to be the most valuable commodity in survival, and that's a really basic breakdown of evolution.
Sure.
So for a virus, it's got the same goal. Okay,
it wants to live.
Right. So a cold is a perfect virus because it spreads very easily. Right now, COVID it's spreading more and more easily. It's spreading faster, right? Because that's what a perfect virus does.
Yeah.
A cold spreads so easily. It makes your nose run, it makes you cough, it makes you sneeze.
Yeah.
And it gets everywhere, and then people pick it up.
Right.
But when you get the cold, for an overwhelming majority, for most people, it's you'll recover. You'll be fine. You will be it's pretty compatible with its host.
Yeah.
Because if it's compatible with its host, it has time to reproduce, get into your nose, and sneeze off into another host, and therefore survive.
Yeah.
If you're Ebola and you kill everyone,
you can't survive.
You can't survive.
Yeah.
Okay? And so just the basic mechanics of it is what is going to be around longer? Something that has, like the version of COVID that killed the person and is gone, or the version of COVID that spread, went into someone else, and had time to get up and then keep spreading.
Right.
The version of COVID that is like that, right?
Yeah.
So viruses, and granted, there is much more studying to go. There's much more to be done, and it's not proven if this is to be the case. But indications are that it seems to be going this way because that's what most viruses do, because that's logically how something survives.
Right, right.
So yes, it's spreading faster, and yes, it is more than likely also killing less people.
Right.
Some of the numbers, as you can see now, we got our biggest spike ever, and the deaths are not nearly as high as they were. Part of that is because more time, unfortunately, we'll see a bit of a spike in death.
Right.
Just because there's a lag. But also, younger people are getting it, and that's part of it. But also, it's, this seems to possibly be happening. So when you freak out about mutation, don't. And that's my point of this little rant is it's not necessarily a bad thing. Yes, it means more people will probably catch it, but the perfect virus survives, and a virus that survives needs to be compatible with its host.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I hope that cheers people up a little bit on the mutation topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We always got to touch on the current situation that we're living in. So I love it.
Yeah, pal.
We already did our tags. So that's it.
Well, thanks for seeing us, folks. Or listening.
All right, well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.